So we are at IdeasFest. This is the inaugural festival of ideas, sharing business insights and thoughts. There's loads going on here. So we've been to a TikTok talk, we have been to a breathing workshop, and even been involved in a public speaking workshop as well with Alex Merry. So there's really a load of diverse things going on here. And the theme, or one of the big themes running through this, is diversity and inclusion. Now, what we know as a facilitator, as facilitators, is the importance of making a safe space in your workshop or meeting to get diverse opinions into your group session. So we've done a video on managing different personality types, which begins to speak a little bit to how you get the quieter types, perhaps the people who don't feel as confident or as safe to be able to give their opinion and their thoughts into your workshop. It's important, as you know, the point of a workshop is to hear from a diverse range of views. So we need to create that safe space. So another really interesting part of this festival is watching the big stages with the large audiences and observing how they're doing Q&A. Now, Q&A sessions are one of the facilitators' kind of terrifying moments. If you're a chair or a panel host or a facilitator, you don't know what you're going to get. You don't know if you're going to get anything from your audience, let alone what questions you're going to get when you throw it open to the audience. Here's a couple of tips for how you can make sure that you're going to get questions, firstly. So how do you make sure that you get questions? If you are worried and don't think the audience is going to naturally put their hand up, obviously, number one, have a couple of questions up your sleeve for the panel or speaker. Make sure you prep that in advance. You can ask your conference sponsor to give you some thoughts about that, or your client. The other thing that you can do is ask the audience to, just in small groups, reflect on what they've heard. You can give them a question such as, what is the biggest takeout for you from what we've heard this morning, or from this speech, or this speaker? And then you let them talk for just 2 or 3 minutes, and then you can now spin it. Instead of saying, anybody got any questions, you can go in and say, what were you talking about? And therefore you've got an automatic dialogue and some things that you can start to then engage with the speaker and create a Q&A session that way. We are at IdeasFest and we are meeting Alex Merry. Alex Merry is a public speaking coach, and we've just been through his 1-hour workshop, Introduction to Public Speaking. Alex, it was a brilliant session. Really enjoyed it. My question to you is, what is your advice in terms of public speaking for a facilitator? So it's a different kind of gig to being the speaker. What advice would you give to a facilitator?
Be very clinical about the questions that you ask and really think about how those questions will be received by the audience. So with what we did today, I didn't give questions that were very easy. They were quite deep, they were real thinkers. And because they make people think, I think they're far more likely to get people to engage with them, and particularly when you get people talking on the tables themselves. So that we're tied in with the reason why the question's being asked in the first place. Combine those two things, I think you've got something quite useful.
Great, so clinical questions, really clear questions. What about confidence? How do you, it's an important thing to kind of, project as a facilitator. What can you do in a 1-minute advice on how can you project confidence?
Very, very simple actually. Learn how to hold silence. Just like that. You can feel the tension in the room. I think it's such a simple thing. I was at the Princess Trust Awards a few years ago, and one of the people who was invited up on stage, they didn't sort of get up on stage and start just trying to fill the void. The second the applause had stopped, they just stood and they sort of looked at the audience. And the anticipation in the room, it creates some magic. And if you want your audience to remember things, they need to feel them.
Nice.
And I think silence can help you to do that.
Yeah, brave though, standing there in the silence.
It takes a bit of practice.
Yeah, I love it. Brilliant. Alex, thank you very much. This is Alex Merry, public speaking coach. We'll put a link to his LinkedIn profile.
Great.
So if you want to get in touch and hear more about how to be a great public speaker, this is the World Expert. Alex, nice to meet you.
Thanks,
very much.
Kieran.
Cheers.